Hi and welcome to this video where I'll basically be taking you through exactly what a pre-wax cleanser or paint cleanser is, and basically be showing you how they're actually used, what kind of results you can expect to get from them, and what kind of situations you might actually want to use this product. So basically paintwork cleansers are generally designed to kind of remove some of the traffic film and some of the kind of things that the wash process won't leave behind. So things like water spots can be removed with these pre-wax cleansers, obviously your old waxes and sealants, and the idea is that basically you're going to leave fresh paint to be able to apply a wax over the top. So some paintwork cleansers work a little bit differently, and it depends which one you choose. So I've got this one here, and this is a P21S pre-wax cleanser, and basically this is designed to kind of increase the level of gloss of the paintwork, so this won't leave behind a completely smooth surface. Instead it will leave behind some fillers, and it'll kind of act somewhere in between kind of a polish and a glaze. It won't remove any clear coat, it's not strong enough to do that, but it will actually sort of bring the paint up to a little bit of a gloss by removing some of the contaminants and also actually adding some kind of gloss enhancing effects. So there are actually two different types of pre-wax cleansers. There's an abrasive kind and a non-abrasive kind. So of course, obviously the abrasive kind is a little bit more aggressive. It's probably not going to remove kind of clear coat, it's not usually that sort of aggressive, although potentially if you've got very soft paint it could actually do that. But generally they're going to have more cleaning power. And then you've also got the non-abrasive kinds, and usually they tend to have more kind of fillers and glazes in there to enhance the shine. But essentially the reason behind it is to use a pre-wax cleanser to kind of enhance the gloss and clean up paintwork just before you apply your wax. So it's important to remember that if you are using a sealant, that this kind of product probably isn't really what you're going to want to use to kind of clean off old waxes and sealants, because basically they do leave behind some kind of oily residue, and particularly P21S, which is the one that I use, it will leave behind some kind of gloss enhancing effects. So applying a sealant over the top, you won't actually get it to bond completely to the surface because there will be kind of that layer of oil in between it. So they're more designed for use with actual waxes rather than sealants, and definitely something you would never use with a ceramic coating. If you are going to use them with a sealant, then expect to kind of have a little bit less durability when you apply that sealant. It might not last quite as long. So a lot of people tend to wonder what the kind of point of pre-wax cleansers are actually compared to some of the detailing products out there. So first we start with the comparison of claying. So sometimes pre-wax cleansers can be used to decontaminate the paint from things like water spots, but generally they aren't as effective as something like clay to actually remove that decontamination. So if you do want sort of paintwork that feels completely smooth, then you will either need to clay it or essentially use an iron fallout remover to remove some of those contaminants beforehand. They're not generally designed to completely decontaminate the paintwork on their own. They sort of designed to go maybe after claying, or potentially if you just kind of want to boost the gloss a bit on your car and apply a new layer of wax, but you don't want to actually have to clay the car, then they're good products to use because a lot of them are non-abrasive, so they're not going to sort of have that need for polishing afterwards to kind of bring back the gloss of the paintwork and get rid of some of the marring and potential swirl marks that clay might leave behind. So a lot of people as well also kind of want to know the difference between pre-wax cleansers and glazes. And they both sort of have that similar effect of trying to kind of enhance the gloss, but really with a pre-wax cleanser there's less of an emphasis on the fillers that glazes use to actually hide those scratches, and sort of more kind of emphasis really on cleaning the paintwork. So there is a little bit of crossover. You will get some kind of that gloss boosting and potentially kind of hide some very, very light swirl marks with a pre-wax cleanser, but generally if you're trying to hide any kind of damage and really, really boost the gloss, then you'll want to go with a glaze instead. So in terms of application, you can either apply them actually after you've washed the car, if you're just doing it just before you add some more wax, you just kind of want to give that paint a little bit of a boost of gloss, or you can use them as part of the full kind of decontamination process. So in that case you'd want to use them after claying and before applying any kind of paint protection over the top. So there are two ways you can actually apply them. You can apply them by hand or by machine. You can get pretty good results by hand, but generally if you're looking for sort of that more gloss boosting effect and kind of adding those fillers in there, like more like a glaze, then by hand you're going to get that result. But with machine polishing, that's when you're going to kind of get those cleaning effects of the pre-wax cleansing. You're going to be able to remove old layers of wax and sealants a bit more easily. So if you kind of want to use it generally to clean the paint, then you're best off using a machine polisher, a dual action polisher, unless you kind of want to use it by hand, then you're going to have to work a little bit harder to actually work that product into the surface. So the Paintwork cleanser I'm going to be using today is the P21S Paintwork cleanser, and it's really kind of good one. It's quite glossy, leaves quite a nice shiny finish behind. So I'm going to be applying that using a dual action polisher, and basically I'm going to be using a Chemical Guys Hex Logic pad. So it's going to be the blue pad, which is mainly used for finishing and applying glazes and waxes and things like that. So I'm basically first going to prime the pad by just adding quite a decent amount and sort of spreading it over the pad. You want to make sure that it's all completely covered and soaked into the surface. You don't want to be kind of applying any sort of area that's not area of the foam that's sort of not coated in products. You don't want to be rubbing that in and grinding that into the paint. You want to make sure it's completely covered. And then add a little bit more once you've primed it to actually apply to the paint. So after that, just kind of spread it around, sort of around an area around half of the hood. You don't have to be quite so precise, but generally you don't want to work on too large of an area. And then I'm just going to spread it around using the machine polisher on a fairly low speed. So this speed is out of 6 and this is on number 3 here. So just spread it around the surface, and then you can actually flick it up slightly higher. So I find that 4 out of 6 works quite well, but you can go a little bit slower. I won't tend to go any higher than this because you're not really using it to kind of abrade the paint. You just want a decent kind of speed to be able to clean up the paintwork a little bit. So I find that going over in a crosshatch pattern sort of twice is the kind of best way to work it. Again, it really depends on how much sort of cleaning ability you actually want out of the product. If you are using it to clean the paint, then you might want to go over a few more passes and sort of really work that into the surface. But if you are using it just as a gloss enhancing agent, you're kind of just using it to actually apply to the paintwork. So it really depends on how much you actually want to work this in. You don't have to be quite as sort of precise and quite as sort of thorough as you would if you were sort of polishing the paintwork. It is more just about applying it, because the product, it does need a little bit working in, but you don't have to really work on it that hard. So make sure you kind of apply sort of evenly over the surface. I find that this product doesn't really cure that hard. It's quite easy to buff off afterwards, so you don't have to really work at one panel at a time. I find that actually applying it to the whole car works really well, and then by the time you've finished applying it to the whole car, you can go back to the start, and that's when it's ready to actually buff off using a microfiber towel. So I would always recommend using a very soft and plush microfiber buffing towel. So something that's edgeless and has any labels removed, something quite sort of new as well, is potentially good, because you really want to make sure that microfiber is completely clean, as you are sort of rubbing it onto bare paintwork at this point. So if you're going to be using anything that's not been inspected to make sure, you know, there's no bits of grit or dust on there, then you really you need to be careful when you sort of buffing products off. So I'm actually using a brand new microfiber towel for this process. It's kind of the safest option to go for. I quite like using the white one as well, because basically you can see if there's any sort of bits that land on the paintwork. So when I was doing this in the sun, there was actually quite a lot of flies about, so you could see those on the microfiber, which made it quite easier. So you can actually see here really quite well how much of a sort of glossy finish it actually leaves behind once you've buffed this off the paintwork. This product in particular is very easy to work with. It doesn't really dust up and it buffs off quite easily. So here are a couple of after shots. You can kind of see a little bit here how kind of clear and crisp the finish is on the paintwork. It leaves quite a clear finish and definitely leaves a lot of gloss. You can see it here quite well. It leaves that sort of wet look to the paint, so it's definitely good if you want to use it as a kind of shine enhancing agent to apply wax on afterwards. So thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Be sure to like the video if you have. Comment down below if you've got any more questions about the process or any of the products that I've used in this video. Again, I'll leave a link in the description for all the products that I have used. And if you have enjoyed the video, then definitely be sure to hit the subscribe button, because I'm uploading videos like this every single week on detailing and kind of different product reviews and techniques that you can use. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.